Hi there! Welcome to Cook Local, Eat Local, the podcast where you can find inspiration, tips, and recipes for enjoying more local food and drink. I am David Crowley, your host. On today's show, we'll be talking with Angela Latimer from Bake It with Love about ideas for our latest CSA veggies. On Bake It with Love, you can find all your favorite classic recipes, comfort food treats, hearty soups, rich and delicious desserts, and much more, all in easy-to-follow recipes that the whole family will love. Before we get to the conversation, a quick reminder. If you enjoy the Cook Local podcast, be sure to subscribe and give us a rating too so your friends can find out about the show. On to the episode. Hello, Angela. Welcome to Cook Local, Eat Local.
Hi, David. I'm glad to be here today.
Excellent. Yeah, looking forward to chatting with you. We want to talk about some of the vegetables I have in my CSA share this week, but before doing that, I want to get a little bit of background from you. And it looks like I was perusing your website, and from what I saw there about your story, it sounds like you're not new to cooking, that you started pretty young. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That's the truth. I did. My mom worked a lot of hours and I did a lot of the cooking anyway, but I had amazing grandmas and great grandmas that I learned a lot from. And it's not to exclude my mom because my mom did she was one of those people that made sure I always had a hot breakfast before I went anywhere. So that's kind of like, she always did a lot of home cooking, and was my grandma's as well. So I've definitely started that way, started young.
Oh, excellent. And do you have any favorite recipes or things you like to make that you learned from your grandmother?
Oh my gosh, I'm a stroganoff addict.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
any meat, mushrooms or not, add some vegetables. I like peppers in there sometimes. But yeah, I
Oh,
love
my
to make the
gosh.
stroganoff. I shouldn't
Yum.
eat it, but
That's all good. That's the one, is it a kind of sour cream as one of the base
you
ingredients?
can use sour cream, but like that's one of my recipes that popped for me a long time ago was my leftover prime rib using cream and
Oh,
Dijon and Worcestershire instead of Worcestershire
yeah.
instead of sour cream base.
Oh, that sounds delicious. I'll have to check that out. Cool.
Mhm.
And I also noticed on your site that it sounds like you and your husband do a lot of cooking together. That sounds fun. Has that always been the case? You both have
That's
kind of a
a
shared
hundred
interest?
percent always been the case. When he and I met, he likes to joke that he was better at the cooking and I was better at the baking.
Uh-huh.
I had my go-to recipes. Like when we first met, the things that he loved was my beef stew.
Yep.
The stroganoff, obviously, and there was a few casseroles that he really, really enjoyed. And then like we took on some of his favorite dishes that he really liked to make when he was young was like was it the green bean casserole with the mashed potato topping?
Oh, yum. Yep.
Yeah. So gosh, it was more like a hamburger casserole,
Okay. Yeah.
green beans, tomato sauce that his mom made. So he worked on that one. Um, so yeah, but we have definitely always cooked together. We were addicts of watching the reality TV, Hell's Kitchen and all that.
Oh,
Mm,
okay.
yeah, and we found Nick Stellino too through like public broadcast,
Mm-hmm.
and we really like him. And he actually, so one of his sayings was one of the things that really kind of stuck with us, to make your home your favorite restaurant, something loosely like that. So
Yeah, that's a great approach. That definitely is the way we go here. Yeah, I was just talking about this with someone yesterday who were both into cooking, and she was saying similar, like we were talking, yeah, I don't really like going out to eat that much. We just complain because we can probably make it better for a lot less if so it's definitely an asset of uh learn how to cook well, and if you have your both of you cook, that's all the better.
yeah, yeah.
Excellent. My wife has many talents and interests. Cooking, unfortunately, is not one of them. So it's a little bit on me. We also have a 19-year-old son who's still at home with us. So that's one of our projects is he's learned a few things, but he said, I want to learn some more. So definitely a good skill, whether you're a male or female, I would say. So great.
And we're in soup season, and that's one of the basic, like really good cooking skills you can learn, because once you can learn how to build a good soup, stew, chowder or like chili, then
Hmm.
you can go look at what's in your refrigerator and you can empty out everything that's about to go bad.
Yeah, that
So
is a good strategy. Soups are great for that. Well, excellent. And maybe there could be some soup in your answers to this potentially. So we have a few things we wanted to highlight from my CSA. that you had some ideas for. Let's start out with Brussels sprouts. That's something I used to not like as a kid, but I've definitely come around to. So I'm curious how you like to prepare it and any tips you might have about it.
Okay, my mom loves to share a story about shopping with me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Okay, I little kid, and I'm in the grocery store begging for Brussels sprouts. Can we please get Brussels sprouts?
Wow.
Yeah, and the look she got, she's like, "How many kids do this?" But it was me. That's like one of my favorite vegetables. And
Wow.
to me, one of the things, anyone who doesn't like Brussels sprouts, I mean, like, there's something wrong with you. But I know there's that
Hmm.
sulfur taste if it's not cooked right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you're running into that, my favorite way to cook Brussels sprouts, and this is the way that like pretty much universally everyone will like them.
Yeah.
Do a pan sear. You can use bacon if you want. Do a little bit of butter, onions, shallots, something like that in there with them. And then cover them with beef broth. You do it in a cast iron skillet. So you can just go right into the oven
Yeah.
and finish baking them until they are super soft and tender.
Yeah.
So a little bit of broth, a little bit of butter is all you really need,
Yeah.
and some seasoning. Go with your favorites. My staples are salt, pepper, paprika, onion powder, garlic powder, especially if you're not using fresh onion or fresh garlic. So,
Yeah. Oh, that sounds good. So you started on the stovetop, huh?
because
Okay.
if you caramelize your Brussels sprouts, you add, everyone talks about depth of flavor, but that's how you add it, is you get a little bit of color. And
Yep.
then also all that stuff that's left in your pan whenever you're cooking seared meats or vegetables like this, you get like the little tidbits that are stuck on the pan.
Hmm.
And when you add
Yep.
the broth, you take your spoon or your wooden spatula and you break that up, and that's the fond. So if you were
Hmm.
going to make a gravy, think stroganoff here. If you were going to
Yeah.
make a gravy, that fond makes the gravy, and a
Oh,
fond of
great.
fond. So those
Excellent.
bits
That's a
are,
great tip. Thank you.
yeah.
So, potatoes, obviously potatoes, we pretty abundant and they're starting to definitely roll. I see them a lot at at farmers markets, and that's what we got in our CSA this week. So you have any special ways you like to, or tips for potatoes?
Oh, I love potatoes.
Yeah.
But I found, okay, so I'm working on my diet right now. So
Hmm.
anything I can do to not add like the butter and sour cream is what I'm going with.
Okay.
Air fryer is your friend with
Hmm.
potatoes. So cut them up like you're gonna roast them, toss them in a little bit of oil.
Yeah.
Add some seasoning, or ranch packets are great.
Hmm.
Lipton onion soup packets.
Yeah.
They'll add some great flavor. And then you just air fry them until they're tender and crispy to your, I do it at about 380. My husband likes 400. So
Oh,
either
yeah.
way works.
Nice. Yeah, and that's probably faster than the oven, right?
By far. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I've done
yeah.
something similar to sweet potatoes that came out pretty well. Yeah, I don't know. Have you used an air fryer for a long time or kind of
Oh,
like,
yeah, we've had
yeah.
air fryers for a long time. Different sizes, different brands. Like the Vortex that was the where you could put the racks in instead of the
Hmm.
basket style, and it had a rotisserie option. So we've tried it all.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'm a little newer to it. I think we got it a year or two ago, and I need to branch out a little more. So I'll have to check. You have some air fryer recipes on your site to
Yeah,
check it out.
no
Like I said,
shortage.
branch out because there are a few things I use it for a lot. Like there's a air fryer salmon we do pretty regularly, and I'm trying. That's actually one of the first things I'm trying to get my son to master because it's easy. A 19-year-old boy needs this protein, so it's a good way. Good way
Air
to do
fryers
it.
are great for kids,
Yeah.
for youngsters. Yeah, definitely. Anyone living alone too,
Right.
because you can
Right.
do really, single portions really, really well. You can even do like if you had your salmon in there, you might put your chopped up potatoes and some vegetables in there too at the same time.
Right. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good idea. Yeah, I have the one that's got like it's two drawers, so they're kind of separate. So it's easier to make like a whole meal that way.
my husband wants that.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
like, it's time to get one with two sides.
it's good, but the downside is I do look at some recipes. I'm like, wait a minute, how am I gonna do? It's the little drawers are small. I might have to spring for a bigger one of these days. So
I think he'd
cool.
be happy running two air fryers.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Well, and then we also got, yeah, onions. I know onions are in so many things. Sometimes from the CSA, or yeah, they wind up giving you a lot too. So, I don't know if you have favorite things to do with onions, and if you happen to have ideas, if you have a lot on hand, what you might do with that in particular.
Well, we're actually working, I got one of the Harvest Right freeze dryers.
Hmm.
And so all of my core vegetables right now, I'm completely freeze drying, and they're going into jars, and I got one of those little, it sits right on top of your jar lid and it vacuum seals it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's independent of like, gosh, what's the little appliance I'm thinking of? It's a vacuum sealer too for the bags, and I can't
Okay.
think of the name of it
Oh
off the
yeah.
top of my
Yeah.
head. But so it's a little independent, it just sits on top of your jar lids and it seals everything right after you freeze dried everything, so you want to get it out of the air as much as possible.
Hmm.
But if you're looking for a recipe, I'm kind of have you ever tried Tennessee onions?
No, I haven't even
Uh,
heard of it. I lived in
okay,
Kentucky for a while. Didn't come across Tennessee onions.
thick sliced onions, you throw it in a casserole dish with some butter and just top it with cheese.
Hmm.
So then picture like if you were doing sandwiches or hot sandwiches or burgers or, wanted to add it to a dish like that. It's,
Oh,
and it's tasty on its own. It can be a
that
side,
does sound very good.
especially for someone who's not a soup, like I love onions and like everything, but I don't like to eat onions like on their own.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, like my salsas, my spaghetti sauces, everything has onion in it. So,
Hmm. But that recipe sounds like a good idea for using a bunch because I mean they keep longer than some things in the fridge, but not forever. So it's kind of
mhm.
disappointing
And
to.
French onion soup,
Oh yeah,
you can
do
use quite a
that.
few. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, speaking of, we're talking about, tasty things. Is there anything in particular, as I know we're kind of, I don't know what the weather's like there in Minnesota. We are have been beautiful here in New England until yesterday. It rained all day. But it's starting to feel a little more like fall here today, and it's the first day of fall. So I don't know if you're into fall eating or still the last of summer. Tell us about something delicious you've had lately.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to get as much grilling in as possible, and that's all my
Yeah.
vegetables too. So, one of my meal prep dishes I like to do because I can take, uh, I took a big chunk of pork that I had in my freezer and I
Hmm.
cubed it all up to make muping, which is Thai grilled pork.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's marinated. I marinated it for 2 days. It's got like, coconut milk in it. It's got, cilantro, like leaves and stems and everything, and some other basic flavoring for the base.
Hmm.
Dark soy sauce, regular soy sauce. It's
Yeah.
very tasty. So it does the marinade, and then I just cover my whole grill with all these skewers of meat.
Oh,
And then I
yeah.
come back out with another round of all my vegetables, my zucchini, my bell peppers, my
Yeah.
onions. We had some corn. I mean, grilled it all, and then that's a whole week's worth of food. And
Yeah.
it stays moist.
Oh, that's delicious. So how do you just portion it out in containers or something to
Yeah.
have it throughout the
Yeah,
week?
we have the individual portions that we put everything into, and some of it goes into the freezer, and maybe I won't eat it in the same week because if I do a couple days of meal prep, I've got a couple weeks worth of food,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, definitely when things get busy to be able to pull a meal out of the freezer is great.
Well, we've been cleaning out like all our garden, grabbing
Mhm.
everything in. So we're trying to either freeze dry it or use it in meal prep and get everything stored away. I did a giant minestrone soup batch, lots of vegetables.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Minestrone.
it's fantastic.
Yeah, soup is a great way. Yeah, soup too. Yeah, like we were saying, I think that was before we hit record, but soup is a great way. You've vegetables, so maybe they start looking a little tired. You might not want to just eat it like
Yep.
steamed or plain like that, but throw it in a
Yeah.
soup, definitely.
Soup is fantastic, and it's definitely soup season here. Um, we had a very wet summer, so
Oh,
like everything's kind of delayed here. The farmers aren't harvesting, like they just started pulling some soybeans out, but the
oh,
corn is
okay.
still in the fields. So it's fall when they harvest.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, because you had all the flooding. We actually have some family in the Midwest, and we flew through Minneapolis, and
Yeah, they had
around the 4th
FEMA
of
and
July, we had to
southern.
take a different route because of the flooding. Yeah.
Yeah,
That does
yeah.
impact availability, and at least it sounds like they didn't totally lose the crop. It just kind of delayed it in some
And we
cases.
have, like our, our farmhouse is here, is on like mini acres, just shy of 8 acres. And there's 140 acres in the front of us, 140 acres in the back of us.
Wow.
And they were all part of the original homestead site.
Yeah.
So our farmers, you can see there's kind of bald spots out in the
Hmm.
fields where they're not gonna get a crop.
Oh, okay.
So they
But not
definitely got
just
affected.
patches, so it might
Hmm.
reduce their yield, but not like they last the whole
Yeah,
year. That would be tough. Okay, great.
yeah.
Now, I noticed looking around your site, you seem to have a wide variety of recipes, and just even the examples you've shared in our quick conversation here seem like you cover a lot of ground. How would you describe the recipes and style that you have and the way you cook in general and what people find on your site?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the smart thing for me to do when I started my website was to really pick an area to niche down into.
Hmm.
But I was like, no, I want to be like Betty Crocker. I like to cook all these things. So
Yeah.
why not share? I mean, like, I haven't even touched on all of my great grandma's recipes.
Yeah.
Grandma's, like I'm going through old journals and stuff of my grandma's, and I've got all these things I haven't even gotten to yet. So it's, when I talk about my recipes, it's pretty much everything like you grew up having,
Yeah.
is one of the things that we try and do is all the stuff that we grew up having, a lot of
Right.
regional favorites.
Hmm.
Um, definitely, I'm a pancake fan. I love Dutch babies.
Oh, okay.
So, breakfast for sure. The number one thing is to make everything easy for someone else to make.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my team and I, like, there's multiple people making the recipe, and if someone can't follow a recipe, we're like, okay, that's gotta be reworked.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, so you have people working with you to do that. That's great. So,
yeah, yeah.
because if you're like me, I might, usually try to make something a couple times before I put it on cooking chat, but it's not quite the same because, I can imagine where things you just sort of know how to do if you're doing it for yourself. It's,
Yeah,
somebody, if you have somebody helping you will catch it. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think I do a pretty good job getting it down, but once in a while I'll get a comment that I realize it's helpful to get those comments. They're not like they're constructive, but like, so when do I put in that cheese? Yeah, that cheese you mentioned in the
it's like
ingredients?
there's
Oops.
ingredients, there's no instructions for that.
Yeah.
I get that all the time because I am one of those people that I am leaping forward in my own thoughts.
Yeah.
I literally, like, this is me talking slow right now, if you can believe that.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people tell me I talk really fast. I do, I know. But yeah, and especially my early blog posts, because we started 2016, twenty
Okay.
seventeen.
Yeah.
So and there's some posts I haven't touched on in a while. And so when you're going back and updating all these posts to bring them current, to make sure that they're really easy to follow, and we're adding all the step-by-step processes, and we're working on adding video to all the posts. So, and then you're like, wow, I wrote that, like, oh my gosh, I hope no one's seen this in like years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I find sometimes I catch up with things like, oh yeah, I want to make something that I hadn't made in a while, and it's my recipe I'm looking at, and you know, ideally it's perfect, it's easy to follow, but sometimes that's like, oh, time for a little refresh here because
Yeah.
it's something here wasn't super clear now that I haven't made it in like 2 years or something like that.
Well, I definitely know that my early stuff, it's like what I conveyed to make it easy for the next person to follow it was like missing like all the thoughts and my steps in my
Yeah,
head. So
right.
it's a learning curve to become someone that can write recipes for other people to follow.
Yeah, definitely. And I understand it looks like you also have a cookbook available. Can you tell us a little bit about what's in there?
Yeah, we put together our most popular family favorite dinners, the ones that are the easiest to make with, limited ingredients.
Hmm.
Most of them are pretty darn affordable, and
Yep.
casseroles are a real winner. There's a couple
Yeah.
soups in there. There's bonus stuff with like seasoning mixes, and my seasoning mixes are always a hit. So I
Oh,
know
great. Oh, you do your own seasoning mixes, you mean? Yeah.
100%, because
Excellent.
where we're at, and I'm not sure how far you are from your grocery store, but it's 15-20 minutes to go get something for me.
Oh my.
Yeah, so, and it's 3 hours to the big cities, so there's
Oh,
definitely,
okay.
I'm not eating out. If I forget something and it's not in my basement, I'm gonna make it from scratch, so.
Yeah, I can see that. We kind of have the luxury of, Whole Foods and other stores within 5 minutes and nice like spice. There's a spice store called Curio that they source like great spices from like small farmers throughout the world, stuff like
I
that. So
love that.
yeah, so it's cool. But when I visit family, they live in a smaller town in South Dakota. I really I'm like, okay, gotta really simplify what I'm making here, especially because when you're visiting, you don't want to buy all this stuff, that you're not gonna use. So
That's so
well
funny, because
that
when I
but
go anywhere, I buy like everything, and I just, okay,
yeah,
here, you have it now.
yeah. Oh great. So that seems like that informs your as you said, the kind of simple recipes you have on your site and in the cookbook. Now, is the cookbook, now how do people get it? Is that a download or a hard copy that people get? I'm not sure.
It's on Amazon, so you
Okay.
can order it. It for Kindle Unlimited users, it's absolutely free.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, there's that.
What's it called?
It's family favorite dinners.
Okay. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Excellent. Well, before we totally wrap, we've covered a number of tasty ideas and so forth, but any other great tips you would share with people who really want to make the most of their local produce and vegetables? Sounds like you're gardening regular yourself. So any other great tips pe for people who want to enjoy that kind of food more?
I think now is the time to connect with all your local sources.
Hmm.
We work with there's like co-ops too.
Yeah.
And that's how we found our farmers that have the raw milk that we get.
Oh,
I
okay.
also get my organic chicken feed there. So
Nice.
I love that. We
Yeah.
talk to our butchers so that we're buying local meat
Yeah.
and really kind of encourage that buy local too, when it comes to everything you're eating, because when you support your local economy
Yeah.
and you get in, when you can buy pasture raised stuff and you know which farms it came from, which I do with my butcher. So that's like, that means a lot,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
when the,
definitely. I totally agree. And it sounds like maybe you're in an area with a lot of, maybe not the grocery stores around the corner, but you have access to farms that are
the great
producing.
resources. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
excellent.
And I think that this is the time with the way that the economy is and how much it hurts to go to the grocery store. I
Hmm.
mean, like, I don't know how people are affording everything. I just don't know. And I think that now is the best time ever to get really good at a green thumb.
Yeah. Yeah, you grow yourself. Yeah, it's obviously way cheaper and yeah, and you're cutting down. And I think we also saw during COVID, I mean, now there's some lingering effects in the economy, but during COVID, I know it's very hard to get certain things that you're used to getting at the grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. So been a couple factors, I think, pushing us, reminding us the value of, getting more
Having
of our
stuff on
food
hand.
locally if we can.
Yeah. And I also encourage anyone that does have the money to buy a bit in advance or buy a little extra when they go grocery shopping to
Yeah.
get that little bit extra, because whatever you buy today is going to cost less than tomorrow.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
So,
We'll hedge against inflation. Yeah.
yeah,
The prices
right.
don't, I don't know what people are waiting for. I know the official inflation rates have dropped a little bit, but that just means it's going up less fast. It doesn't mean, you're not gonna, it's not gonna reverse. The price of milk's not gonna
Yeah,
drop a dollar,
no,
unless you
it's
move
not.
move to another country or
It's
something.
kind of like gas, when gas goes up and it's four
Mhm.
dollars and you're like really happy that it made it back under four,
Yeah.
they don't have any reason to go back to two.
No, no, they really don't.
And that's the same with the grocery prices too. No conspiracy theories or anything like that, but I'm just saying that the grocery stores don't make a lot on what they sell. So
Right.
if they are making a little bit more because you're happy paying the higher price, they're gonna continue to do it.
Yeah, exactly. All the more reason, yeah.
Yeah.
Support those local
Oh, I know.
farmers and producers. And I'm sure the taste, I'm sure you can taste the difference, I'm guessing, from those, the meat you're getting versus what you might get at a store.
Yeah, 100%. And we actually grew extra, like our half our garden was dedicated to what we're feeding the chickens.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they loved all their zucchini. We've got winter squash stored away for them because,
Oh, they eat
um,
stuff like that, really?
oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
hmm.
They love the watermelon. Like they are really excited when they see me coming with the green watermelon.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
interesting.
but when it's wintertime here, because it's so cold, and I'm sure you know about cold, but they're gonna have to be inside
Right.
and bored.
Yeah.
So things to keep them busy are like give them a pumpkin. They're gonna love it.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess I've just mostly seen chickens like going to especially when our son was younger, take him to little farms, and it's just that chicken feed stuff. I can only imagine the difference, getting foods like that. I don't know what's in that chicken feed that they get at the more commercial farms. It's probably not the best.
Yeah, yeah. Those are our organic stuff is a blend of amaranth and we've got some corn in it, which isn't my
Yeah,
favorite thing to feed my chickens, but yeah, there's a nice oats and everything blend in there, wheat. So
great.
we've got great eggs.
Oh, I'll
They just
bet.
started laying. We're just like, oh my gosh, it's time to get more chickens.
Oh, great. Oh, says that are keeping chickens new for you.
I've had chickens when I was younger, but
Yeah.
like I didn't really worry about the eggs. And like now we've got the 6 laying hens and they just came of age. So they've only been laying, like, this is week 2.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we converted one of my horse stalls and we added a chicken run on the outside, and everything's like Fort Knox because our number one thing this summer was keeping the bunnies out of my garden.
Oh,
They were,
yeah.
okay, so I had rabbit wire all the way around, but they would go to the gate and they'd be working at fitting their face through the gate slats.
Oh my. Jeez.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm watching them. I'm like, that's broad daylight. What are you doing?
Oh
So I'd
my.
run out there and I'd shoo them away. And I was like, okay, they've got to put some more chicken wire or rabbit wire or somewhere, around this corner a little tighter.
Yeah.
Whew, it was a job.
Yeah, I'll bet, but it's worth it. I do remember my dad gardened when I was younger. Then he started getting into coaching my baseball team, so he gave it up. But he never really did that. So and we lived in a pretty woodsy area, so it was rare that something actually would often wind up picking stuff like sooner than you'd want to, just to get it before the animals do. But
To
they
be
often
to it,
get it
yeah.
first. Well, this
Yeah.
has been great. A lot of great tips, Angela. We should wrap by, I realize we talked about your website. Why don't you tell folks your website URL and maybe where you're active on social media, where they can connect with you?
Yeah. So bake it with love. Don't forget that. It's pretty easy, right?
Yeah,
My
definitely.
son came up with it,
Oh,
and
good for him.
and then everyone's hashtagging because that was a great British Bake Off thing too.
Oh, yeah.
As a saying from there. But it was mine first. That's something I always said about my grandma, and my son loved it. So
Nice.
yeah, because we had been some extraordinarily long.com before that. I won't even say
Oh,
it,
yeah.
but no, like Pinterest, we are all over.
Okay.
Tons
Yeah.
of stuff to share. We always share our recipes and pins. So anyone who's a Pinterest user, please go follow us. We love followers. The
Okay, great.
followers, it tells all the algorithms that you're worth knowing.
Right.
Right. So
That
that's
is
like one
true.
of the best things. If you love a blog, if you love someone like you, go give them that love. It helps.
That is a
We're on
great tip.
YouTube. I'm returning to it. I kind of had a hiatus while we had all the summer projects going. So I've got to do a little better planning for content next year.
Yeah.
We have a lot of stuff going on this summer with trying to build out and get ready for producing more of our own food.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's a big undertaking.
it is. And yeah. And we had some repairs and stuff that needed to be done on the property. We had storms go through a few years ago. So
Oh, okay.
in short, I love Pinterest. I'm active on Facebook. If you love to bake, there's a 25 days of of baking too, for the holiday baking.
Oh, great. You do that on Facebook.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
got a group on there. Everyone loves joining the group, but it's, gonna be, I think, hopping come Christmas time. So
Excellent.
yeah,
Well, great. Those are some great ways to connect. You're obviously a great resource, very passionate about cooking, and it sounds like you have very accessible recipes, it sounds like, and you have people now helping you test them, so they should be really, really good and accurate. And so
yeah,
I look forward to checking it out, and I'm sure my listeners will as well. It's been a pleasure to
fantastic.
chat.
I mean, it has. Thank you, David.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Cook Local, Eat Local. To get the show notes with links for recipes and resources we covered today, go to cooklocaleatlocal.com to get the podcast landing page. And please be sure to subscribe to Cook Local, Eat Local wherever you get your podcasts. Make it a great day with some tasty local food on your plate.